Welcome Swamini Brahmaprajnananda ji, and please over to you to take up the webinar.
Thank you. Thank you, Ankur. And thank you, Kalyan, for setting the context. I want to congratulate the people who are going to be completing the Introduction to Vedanta course. The topic of Jeevanmukti was going to be a part of that course. And thanks to your karma, others' karma intertwined, and they have the benefit of listening to this topic, Jeevanmukti. So we invoke the grace, as always, in every talk, every class, with prayers. And so I will chant. Om Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Vasudevendra Yogindram Natva Jnana Pradam Gurum Mumukshunam Hitarthaya Tattva Bodho Bhidhiyate. The first prayer that I chanted was invoking the grace of the Guru Parampara, all the way starting from Shiva to Adi Shankaracharya, who helped to re-establish the tradition, all the way up to my teacher. And the second prayer that I chanted was the opening verse of the text called Tattva Bodha, in which there is a very beautiful section of Jeevanmukti. And we'll be looking at some of those verses as we go through the talk. When I was about 15 years ago, when I was about 15 years, actually it was not 15 years ago, I remember reading this book called Autobiography of a Yogi. I'm sure a lot of you have read or heard of that book. It's a book by Paramahamsa Yogananda. The book was very, very inspiring because it had stories of many saints, many yogis, many realized masters, and I could have sworn that a lot of these masters came to me in my dream, and I couldn't quite understand why they are coming to me in my dream. Maybe I was not evolved enough and so on. But what I took away from that book is that wise people, a yogi, okay, or a wise person, a jnani, can look into the future. That was my conclusion. The second takeaway from the book was that to be wise, you need to have lot of accomplishments, lot of siddhis. So the ability to walk on water, or the ability to produce things out of thin air, literally speaking, the ability to cure diseases, and so on. And my third takeaway from that book, and there were many others, but I'm just going to highlight these, was that a wise person can have no disease. Okay, so it's quite a tall order. And as I looked around, read a lot more, no one fitted the bill. And so, you know, a lot of these romantic fantasies piled up, that wise people live in the caves and they are otherworldly and so on. And then I got exposed to Western psychology. So I went through this atheist agnostic phase for some time, and I actually dismissed all that might have happened in my dream then. I thought, oh, because a lot of religious experiences are dismissed as hallucination. I never spoke about it to anyone. So, these takeaways that I got from that book were challenged when I actually came across Vedanta. Because this book was largely based on yoga and tantra, not Vedanta. And the understanding of Jeevanmukti that Vedanta presented was quite radical. It looked like it is something that is available to everyone. So let's look at what Vedanta has to say about Jeevanmukti. Because remember, these fantasies that we all have, which almost prevent us from going into Vedanta, or while we are studying Vedanta, being exposed to the sadhana of Vedanta, we will doubt the teacher, because the teacher cannot produce vibhuti, or at least not in front of you. Okay? So it's very refreshing and very beautiful to hear what is this Jeevanmukti. So Tattva Bodha says, Evam cha Vedanta Vakyaihi Sat Guru Upadeshene cha Sa Sarveshvapi Bhuteshu Yesham Brahma Buddhi Utpanna Te Jeevanmuktaha Bhavanti. So what does that mean? So it's too much Sanskrit. I can't handle this, So the people are called Jeevanmuktas, for whom the knowledge that all beings are Brahman, the limitless, it has taken place. Okay? So it's very important to note that the criteria for Jeevanmukti is crystal clear knowledge that all beings, despite their differences in name and form and so on, all of them are limitless. In fact, there is no all, there is only one without a second. How did these Jeevanmuktas come to this knowledge? Did somebody walk into their dream, or did they have a special experience or something? No. The text clarifies, Sat Guru Upadeshena. So taught by a Sat Guru. Now Sat Guru, of course, there is a popular teacher by that name. Sat Guru is used as a prefix. What it really means is, it could be a prefix, like a title for any guru. So the guru who teaches about reality. And from where did he or she get that glimpse? Or how does a person know? Vedanta Vakyaihi. So the person knows all this through the words of Vedanta, the words that are revealed by Bhagavan to different rishis, and then thanks to the Guru Parampara, it has all come down to us. So that's the only criteria. So then again, back then, I'm reading, okay, the person should certainly have some more accomplishments. So what really does this mean? What does this Jeevanmuktaha mean? And it's further explained. So just as we have very strong identities, that I am the body, yatha dehoham, purushoham, brahmanoham, etc., etc. So like that, our identities are so strong, but for the Jeevanmukta, the person is able to see that I am Satchidananda Swarupaha. I am of the nature of limitlessness. Prakasha Rupaha, I am the nature of light that illumines everything. Sarvantaryami Chidakasha Rupaha, lot of words, okay? Dridha Nischaya, so very, very clear, crystal clear knowledge that is free from vagueness, error and doubt. Okay, so the person, this Jeevanmukta, in Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna has a question, which is a common question that all of us have. So how does this wise person talk, walk, etc.? And it's also the reason, it's some curiosity we have, right? So the reason tabloids do so well, or the lives of the rich and famous, or the reality shows, is that we want to know, well, what is everyday life like for this Jeevanmukta, this wise person? What is so special about such a person? So here is where I want to pause and ask you to enter your response in the chat box. And I'm going to say some incomplete sentences, and you have to fill up the sentence with the first thought that comes to your mind. Are you ready? So, this is a webinar, so I struggle with not seeing everyone. But anyway, I will make do with this chat box. Ready? I like it. Men are ... Complete. I am waiting. Okay, so this is open to men are human, finite. Humans, limitless. Okay. Delusional, I like that. Dependent on woman. Okay, stop, that's great. Okay. Women are. Women are. Okay, now that's the next round of question. Okay, somebody says compassionate, nurturing. Same as men. Okay. Very nice. Okay, thank you, that's it. Okay. Democrats are. Hey, the response has stopped. Democrats in the US are donkeys? No. Okay. Politicians, okay. What about the Republicans? Compassionate, did you say? Elephants. Okay. More selfish, conservative, racists. Wow. Okay, fantastic. Okay, I think we'll stop. Okay, great. Fantastic response. Now, let's unpack this a bit, okay? So whatever you would have said, suppose you're a man, okay? And I did see, one man, he wrote, men are selfish pigs, okay? And then someone else said delusional, right? So we have beliefs about different issues, yeah? We have a belief about ourselves. So as somebody belonging to the female gender, suppose I think that men are dependent on women. That was one of the responses. Okay. Now this thought, or that they are selfish pigs, okay, apologies to men, I don't believe so, but I'm just taking a response. These words that have been uttered, is it a thought that is just sitting in one corner of my mind? No. Because what I believe becomes my identity. Okay, mark my words. What I believe to be true, and this is a very innocuous game. Men are something, women are something. Some people said caring, compassionate, this, that, the other. Okay. So what I believe becomes my identity. And that identity is very often in friction with reality. See, when the identity is in alignment with reality, no problem. I think I am a capable, strong man. Others treat me that way. Great, no problem. But I am such a caring and generous man, and somebody calls me a selfish pig. Now that's not acceptable. By no standard is it acceptable. I feel misunderstood. I want to withdraw into my shell. I don't want to interact with this person. I don't want to give the benefit of doubt. Anyway, I felt isolated. I feel even more isolated. Okay? So, we have piled up a lot of different identities on the basis of some aspects of our beliefs, of our ways of relating to the world. And the tragic part is that I believe that identity is reality. Right? You're with me so far? So if I am a Republican, then I am buddies with all Republicans. If I am a Democrat, then of course, I cannot stand these Republicans and so on and so forth. So it's not just a belief system that is limited to after dinner conversation only. Suppose anyone says something against, and suppose I'm a Democrat and somebody says something against Democrats, then I am offended. How dare they talk in this way? Not acceptable. And you will find reasons to run away from them. Correct? So this identity that we developed was only because we wanted to feel significant, that as I am not acceptable. As I am, my secret sorrow is that I am not good enough. And therefore, by acquiring possessions, by relating to different people, by moving from one place to another, I was seeking to enhance myself, right? Lot of identities, and every identity is limited. So I'm contrasting a jivan mukta to all of us who struggle with our identity. Okay? Now, this is a good point. Developing an identity is a very important part of a healthy psyche development. That's correct, absolutely right. But here we are not talking psychology, we're talking one step ahead, which is I am challenging the reality of that identity. Okay? Because for us, very clear and simple, the definition of reality is that which is in all three periods of time. Trikale api tishtati iti satyam, which is you. Okay? So, you are that satyam. Yeah? You are already muktaha. You are already free. You just don't know it. Some of you may be knowing it. Okay? So, this satyam that you are illumines all your identities. So the identity of a professional, of a father, of a son, of whatever political party affiliation or whatever sexuality orientation, all those identities, they come and go. For an identity to be reality, it has to be present all the time. Correct? So how do you know that, how do you define fire? That which burns. So fire is not moody. Oh, you know what? I've had a really long week. This weekend I am not going to burn. It doesn't work that way. Okay? Whatever is your nature, that always is. So the Jeevanmuktaha, this wise person, has discovered that I am the reality that is in and through all these different identities. And functional identities are important. We're not saying that we need to obliterate identity, but see that that identity has a function, has a form, has a responsibility under the larger framework of dharma, but your reality is limitless. You are not limited or bound by the boundaries of your body or the boundaries of your identities and so on. So that's that clear knowledge, okay, which we also refer to as Satyam, that is you, and you illumine your identities which happen to have, somebody has mentioned Mithya, so I am just mentioning it, that you illumine these different identities, and we have no problem. It's important to not be spiritually snobbish. Oh, from now onwards, I am Jeevanmuktaha. I am no longer a husband to my wife. A lot of people might want to say that. I am no longer a work professional. Hey, hello. You are so free that you can take on more identities, because you know that it has a dependent reality, it has a certain functionality, and that's about it. Okay. So this Jivan Muktaha has seen the truth of oneself through a lot of exposure to Vedanta Vakya. And the knowledge that has been gained is really not a gain of information. In Vedanta, the knowledge, okay, Jnanam, is really the removal of avidya, because you are there shining, ever shining. So it's very much like, when you look at a sculpture, I don't know if you all are familiar with Dakshinamurti. So Lord Shiva is a teacher, very beautiful form. And it's really fascinating how the Murti, the Vigraha, is made. So there is this huge block of granite. And granite, mind you, is a very hard stone. It's not a soft stone like marble. And so what the sculptor does is, with his hammer and chisel and whatever are his other tools, he will scrape away what is not Dakshinamurti. So what is not the head, what is not the arms, what is not the feet, okay, that is what he is chiseling away. Vedanta works like that. Because it's not that, okay, now I am ready to give a PowerPoint presentation on Vedanta, the 10 concepts in Vedanta. Hello, you're not a concept. You're not a principle. You're not a theory and you're not a practice. Vedanta is you. You are the limitless, and that is something that all of us aspire for. It's, this scraping of non-Dakshinamurti to reveal Dakshinamurti can also be likened to Michelangelo's David. And it's very interesting that, in the when you go there, there's this huge hall, and there are different, David, the sculpture of David in different stages of making, to show the perfection that has been achieved with this sculpting form, So what this Jivan Mukta, the process that the Jivan Mukta has been through, is all the identities that were taken to be ever real, that the reality of that was challenged, and the person was able to see that I am that illumines all of this Prakasha Rupaha. And so by that immediate knowledge, what happens? So Brahmaivaham, I am that Brahman. I own it up. I don't postpone it. I don't project it. Oh, you know what? My teacher knows it, but I don't think I can know. Or I don't say, you know what? I have to work on my Antakarna Shuddhi. So, or I have to meditate a little bit more. Nothing. Right now, right here, for those who have had sufficient exposure to Vedanta, can you see that you are the limitless? Aparoksha jnanena, it is direct, it is immediate for you. And what happens for this Jivan Muktaha is, this person is free from karma. Karma bandhaha vinirmuktaha syat. So free from karma. Now there is this very nice verse in the Bhagavad Gita. Nahi kaschit shanamapi jatu tishtatya karma krita karyate hyavasha karma sarva prakriti jair gunaihi, which means that no one, wise or otherwise, can remain for even 1 second without performing action. Because everyone is forced to perform action, karma. It's better we stick with the word karma. Everyone does karma because they have inner pressure of the gunas, sattva, rajas, tamas, and that's born of prakriti. Like right now, okay, there are some of us who want to engage and who want to quickly, type stuff in the chat box. So then there's some rajas here, okay. There are some will saying, okay, let me focus on what is a talk because I don't want to miss anything. Let me see what is the progression of the various topics. Let me see how I'm getting it. So some sattva there. And maybe there is tamas for some, because some my people might be doing some multitasking. Let me do the laundry, let me cut vegetables, I'll try and get whatever I can. Or it's okay, there's some talk is going on, something if it's interesting, my ears will perk up. Okay? Now, we are impelled to do karma because of our personalities. So how is it possible that this Jeevanmukti is free from karma? Does it mean that the person freezes? Does it mean that the person stops like lifting a finger? Then what is it? Now the thing to understand about karma, and I'm guessing that most of you know this, but I'm just repeating a few points, that karma is a volitional action that can be performed only by a human being. And every karma gives rise to visible and invisible results. The invisible results, if they are positive, is called punya. And if you do an action that is in line with adharma, then it will cause papa. This punya papa, which accumulates in everyone's account, translates to sukha dukkha experiences. So punya translates to sukha, experience of pleasure and happiness and comfort, and the experience of papa, I mean papa actually translates to the experience of dukkha. Now the dukkha can be from getting a mosquito bite to getting the coronavirus to finding yourself as, a single parent and not having much help and so on and so forth. And this understanding of karma comes to us through the Shastra. So how is it possible? Can I really avoid doing karma? Is the question. Because all of us dream of not doing the things that we don't want to do, right? So it's there in India. I don't know if it is there in other cultures, but the word sannyasa, it has entered popular language, and people say, I'm so exhausted, or I'm so fed up with my husband or wife, I want to take sannyas. Or people will say, I want to take political sannyas. I mean, and these words are used. Okay? So there, obviously sannyasa is not understood, but it is perceived as I will be free from all my responsibilities. Okay? So the question is is there a way I can avoid doing? Because we all know what happens to the piling laundry. We all knows what happens to the clutter that just accumulates. And then we have to seek Marie Kondo. And then, Marie Kondo? Is that right? Yeah. Okay. So, KonMari method. Why? Because you let so much karma pile up. Now you have to declutter. Right? So this karma, why do we feel the inner pressure to do more and more and more? Because of a purnata, incompleteness, the sense of incompleteness, which comes from the ahankara, the limited self-concept. But how did I consider myself limited? Because of ajnanam. So that ajnanam has already gone away with jnanam. So we have to understand this this presentation that freedom from karma is actually freedom from the identity of being karta and bhokta. So the freedom from being a doer or an experiencer. And how come? Is it just positive thinking? No, because what was not you, you have scraped off. That's all. You took identity to be reality. Well, actually the reality is you, ever shining, sada prakashaha, and you see the truth of that. So now I want to talk a little bit about the roadmap for a jivan muktaha. So there's one question: if we are by nature Satchidananda, how did Ajnana seep into us? You're absolutely right. There is no reason why Ajnana should come. But avidya, Ajnana is anadi. It is beginningless. And so, although avidya, Ajnana is beginningless, means it's not like it stopped and it started. Okay, if there was jnanam, there is no reason why there would be avidya. So although it is beginningless, it can come to an end with jnanam. So how is that? So just like a really dark cave that had been in darkness for millions of years, then through some excavation and so on, some secret passage was found, and there was a lamp kept in that cave. So the beauty of a lamp is that it can illumine even a dark cave. Not all of it, but some of it. So Ajnana can come to an end with Jnanam. But then what is the roadmap? How am I able to see this knowledge? Well, you need systematic exposure to Vedanta. And while you have that systematic exposure to Vedanta, through Guru Vakya, we have to learn to live our life, because Vedanta is not a part of our life. Initially it starts being a part of our life, but in the light of Vedanta, when you see your life, then everything fits into place. There is nothing to reject, So here, in terms of the roadmap, there is some maturity, some growing up that we need to do in terms of our relationship with karma. And how, karma is that way quite abstract and so on and so forth, it may seem. But really speaking, I have to come to terms with many aspects of my life. So my relationship with my family, with my parents, with my siblings, because the quality of relationships that I have contributes to the quality of my life, relatively speaking. Okay, so my relationship with my family, my relationship with my children, my relationship with money, my relationship with sexuality, my relationship with work, my relationship with children, my relationship with my own body and mind. Okay, so we are not talking about dissociating from any identity. Our identity, as we are preparing ourselves to be a jivan mukta, to realize that, to see that truth, I need a certain level of maturity. I cannot bypass this maturity, the business of living, and say, no, I want straight, I want Brahman, and I'm going all out for it. This is a problem of modern Vedanta, and I've had to counsel people who have gone through, a lot of dissociation because of wrong understanding. Okay, so don't jump the gun. Go with very systematically. And how can I change my relationship with karma? Because all of us feel denied at some way, in some ways. All of us may feel guilty about certain things. And so I offer 4 kinds of relationship to karma. Okay? So my relationship with my parents, my family, my siblings, my work, my nationality, my identity, all that I am bunching into the karma that has been done to me and karma being done by me. Okay, so I'm talking about 4 ways, 4 possibilities of relating to my karma. The first one is, things happened to me. I was a victim of circumstances, and so it's me against the world. I don't know why my girlfriend or boyfriend ditched me. I don't know why I was rejected in the university. I should not have been rejected in that job. Why was I denied the promotion? All of us go through these thoughts. And here we believe that karma happened to me. And there is a certain victim mentality. Now, I totally understand that there are many issues where we may have been victimized, and I'm not talking about severe abuse and so on and so forth. But a general victim mentality is what I'm talking about, that, you know, I am at the receiving end of so many things and so on and so forth. And so this needs to change, because for the sake of my own maturity, that I have to be able to step up and use the 3 Shaktis that are given to me. So this is very, very beautiful. You know, in Lalita Sahasranama, which is like 1,000 names for the Devi, there is a very beautiful compound, Samasa. Ichha Shakti, Jnana Shakti, Kriya Shakti, Swarupini. So she is in the form of the one who is the very Shakti. The Shakti, is again one of those Sanskrit non-translatables. But just for the sake of easy understanding, it's like the power that is pervaded by Devi, okay? The power to desire, the Shakti to desire is there with us every moment. So whether you want to attend a lecture, or you want to order on Amazon, or you want to have an ice cream, the range of desires is huge, and it is a blessing. Okay, this is very important. Ichha Shakti is there, it's available to us every moment. Kriya Shakti, that it's not enough to just have a desire, I can act on the desire. So Kriya Shakti, I have the power to act, to do. And thankfully we also have Jnana Shakti. So the power to know more. You know, how does cryptocurrency work? I can figure it out. How, I still can't figure out NFTs, and I don't understand the big hoo-ha about it. But anyway, it looks like it's here to stay. So all these non-fungible tokens that are all over the place, and people are buying, these different things for millions of dollars. So anyway, Jnana Shakti. Every moment we have Jnana Shakti, Kriya Shakti, Ichha Shakti. The Shakti to desire, the Shakti to know, and the Shakti to do. So from having a victim mentality, if I start to see that yes, I have this available, I don't need to get into learned helplessness. Okay, it's a phenomenon we talk about in psychology. A lot of our helplessness that we feel is learned. It's not natural. You have to look at children to understand. They don't feel helpless. Whatever power they have, they will use it. Maybe the child is not able to speak, will cry and wake up the whole neighborhood. Or, I want that ball, I can't walk, I will crawl towards it. I will use whatever Shakti I have. They don't feel helpless, okay? They are not helpless. None of us are really helpless. If we tap into the Shaktis we have, and so therefore, the second phase of us developing some sort of a mature relationship with karma is that karma can happen by me. And that is where Kaushalam, one of the definitions of karma yoga, comes into the picture. that I perform karma with a certain level of competence, with the understanding of dharma. Okay? Otherwise, some of the street youth that I used to work with who would snatch mobile phones and were involved in a lot of petty theft. Kaushalam is not skill in action. Somewhere it's translated like that. Kaushalam, which is a part of karma yoga, is conforming to dharma and of course doing your best in all your different identities, but you align with dharma, the universal framework of values and so on, because dharma is a manifestation of God. A lot of people say, I believe in laws of nature, but I don't believe in God. Hey, hello, how do you think the laws of nature function? Descartes and Newton and Galileo, okay, all of these people are responsible because they wanted to separate the church and the state. So they said, what, let's just put God out of the picture. Let us present everything as laws of nature, okay, and let us present it as mechanical. So these laws of nature function, and let's keep God out of the picture, okay. But of course, thankfully, God can never be out of the picture. Bhagwan can never be out of the picture. And so my relationship with karma changes when things start to happen by me. Because I feel like, yes, I'm more in charge of my life. I'm able to change the things that I want to change. And maybe I can, develop the acceptance to change the things I cannot. So as we do that, this is what happens to a lot of the achievers, that you start to believe you can control everything. And the truth is, you may not be addicted to tea or coffee or a substance, but we are all addicted to control. We want to control anything and everything, okay? So now the second phase of relating to karma is such that I start to get stressed. I'm trying to control this, it's not happening. I'm trying to control my partner, so that will never ever happen. I'm trying to control my children for their good only. Of course, I would never do things only for myself, but not working. And as I develop an understanding of samatvam, which is the other aspect of the definition of karma yoga, that I learn to accept. Acceptance is not agreement. Acceptance is seeing what is. I see what is, and I know that it couldn't be different, So I learn to accept what I cannot change, samatvam. And that's when I enter the third phase of my maturing relationship with karma, which is that karma happens through me. Okay, understand this? Through me, not to me, not by me. It's no more personal. I just happen to find myself in situations which call for a response. It is the teaching that has been given by Bhagavan Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna, where he says, Nimitta matram bhava savyasachin. Be an instrument. And this requires a lot of maturity, a certain level of surrender. And surrender is the highest thing that you can do with your will, So we find this happen, yeah. There are many moments in our lives or during our day that you feel you're in the zone, okay. It's also possible you might be dancing at a club, and especially when there is certain kind of trance music that is on, you feel like you're here but you're not here, yeah, in the sense that you feel that things are happening through you. There are conversations where you were not intending to say certain things, but some great wisdom tumbled out of your mouth, or you see that you don't have a sense of great ahankara. Certain things needed to be done. I happened to be here. I did it. Because I am always aligned with the laws of Bhagavan, the laws of karma, and so the world requires my response. Because each of us has been gifted with certain talents and skills and abilities in this time and age, and I cannot sit quietly. I should not sit quietly, because karma that you do frees you from the limitations of that situation. And we all experience this on a daily basis. You're feeling helpless about something, something needs to be done, you make your response, you're free. You're free in the sense you have moved the situation forward in the context of dharma, and it's obviously a favorable outcome for the people involved. You're happy about it, other people are happy about it, dharma makes everyone happy. And so, like a flute, like Krishna's flute, you allow music to be played by you. The flute does not demand, okay, you know what, I only want to be used in a jazz concert or only Hindustani classical, okay? The flute is free from raga dvesha, our cravings and aversions. So, earlier I was very selective about the karma that I did, okay? But then in a greater, harmony with karma, where I started to allow karma to happen through me, I am aligned with Ishvara. So this is a very important stage of maturity, and it is a stage where that everyone has to go through, because a lot of us, in fact most of us, we run away from the karma to be done, and we will use all kinds of excuses. I'm not in the mood, or maybe I need to meditate, I need to be in the right frame of mind, or I don't have enough information to make the decision, so on and so forth, okay? And the fourth stage, which comes in my relationship with karma, is that I am free from all karma. I am in and through the karma, I am in and through the karma phala, and that I am not defined by my karma, okay? So a lot of us, we are defined by our karma. You go to a party, you go for a get together. So I'm guessing the Indian diaspora probably meets whatever, or now of course on Zoom, or physically. So different festivals and so on and so forth. And then our usual thing is, so what do you do, right? As a part of our introductory small talk. And suppose say, oh, I just sold my company for an X whatever amount of $1 million. And suppose, the other person also, Silicon Valley, so managed to sell his company for less, you'll feel less about yourself, right? So depending on the car we have, the location we live in, depending on the work that we do, or the fact that I was laid off, or I had to take a pay cut, I feel a lot of things about myself, right? All identity we are talking about. And so this maturing of a relationship with karma is something that none of us can avoid, which is that initially karma happened to me, then as my maturity, my engaging with life increases, karma happens by me. Third stage, karma happens through me. So there is a greater sense of equanimity, acceptance, coming to terms with family, with finance, with body, with mind, etc. And here, nobody stops you from not doing karma. You can do karma, but the identities are held very lightly, because you know that it doesn't define you. Things are to be done, do it, that's it, get on, You're not looking to enhance the already limitless being that you are with another limited identity. And then as Vedanta becomes more and more clear for you, you are able to see that karma or your work identity no longer defines you, And so there are 3 types of karma that are mentioned. Can I just check how much time we have?
Actually, we're at the top of the hour, so I want to say a few words in closing, but we can take a couple more minutes.
Okay, great. So the different types of karma that are mentioned for the Jeevanmukta is 3 words I will use: agami karma, sanchita karma, prarabdha karma. So because of the connection between avidya, therefore kama, desire, binding desire, and therefore karma, once knowledge takes place, maybe the person should be obliterated, all gone, avidya gone, there is no need for karma, there is no need for human body, and so on and so forth. But that's not the case, because there was so much karma standing in the account of all these lifetimes, which is called sanchita karma. Okay, so much karma that has been done, it's all there sitting, and a part of it had fructified, which is called prarabdha karma, that is to be exhausted. So even for a wise person, the moment there is clarity, the person is not going to drop. If that was the case, nobody would want moksha. What continues is the papa punya of that wise person, because it has already started in motion in this lifetime. So that is what continues, and therefore we see different wise people having different kinds of personalities, engaged in different kinds of projects, but nothing takes away the wisdom that they have, because we have to go back to what is the definition of a Jeevanmuktaha. Then the clarity that I am Brahman, all beings are Brahman, limitless. And so the Jeevanmukti section in this text, it concludes by saying that since no event, no place can define this Jeevanmukta, the person could die in a place like Kashi, which is a very, very beautiful city, and a city that everyone must definitely visit. Because it is believed that if you die in Kashi, you are not going to be born. But of course, personally, I know a person who died in Kashi and was reborn in Europe, okay, but has a very strong samskara. So it concludes by saying that these externals do not define a person. The person could die in the house of a dog eater or in Kashi, but the truth of what the person is, which is limitless, that stays, and that Jeevanmukta, that knowledge that makes a person Jeevanmukta, is available to all of us. And so my prayers and wishes that may we all make the best use of this human life and birth. Om Tat Sat.
All right. Terrific, Swamini ji. Outstanding. The particular exposition on the 4 stages of one's relationship with karma was very, very on point, appropriate, thought-provoking, something for all of us to think about. There are stories in Hindu Sahitya and elsewhere where a crow or a dog gather karma phala out of their karma. Is it only for putting across the point that animals, or can animals also accrue karma phala? That's the question.
Yeah.
Animals, yeah.
Yeah, so the Shastra is very clear that animals cannot accrue karma phala. There are certain points made, we call this arthavada, an exaggeration to highlight a point, and that's what it is. Yeah.
Okay, next question. Is the removal of avidya accomplished in one intuitive leap, since it is aparoksha jnana, or is it a process of gradual negation of anatma via systematic exposure to the teachings, or both? Is it both immediate and gradual?
Right. You know, in a place called Calcutta in India, there are a lot of ponds, and a lot of these ponds, they are covered by hyacinths. So you have to keep throwing a stone, and then the hyacinths, they part. then if you just leave it like that, then they again cover. Okay, so the repeated exposure is required because our identities are very strong. At the same time, the removal of avidya that takes place in Shravanam while you are listening to the teacher, it happens instantly because it is you. It's not intuition, okay? A pramana, a means of knowledge, is being used by the teacher through a certain process to point out the truth of who you really are. And it is always a paroksha because you are immediate, you are direct, you don't have to think and then you will become direct and so on. So for a person who is prepared, it is direct, it is immediate. For a person who needs some preparation and maturity, it seems like it's gradual because we are working through our different obstacles. Yeah.
Are you a Sthita Prajna? That's the question.
Yeah, I am Brahmaprajnananda. It is a name given to me by my teacher.
Yeah, okay. What was the conclusion of this topic? Well, there's not a conclusion really. It is just an exposition of the nature of Jeevanmukti and its relationship to karma. Does life ever end in the eternal sense?
Well, consciousness keeps manifesting in different ways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why is Atman a fundamental, indivisible construct when it is a part of Brahman? Can you talk a bit about Atman?
Okay, there are a lot of things to unpack and I don't think I will be able to answer it in a couple of sentences. We have to clarify our understanding of Atma. Atma is I, it's you, it's the same as Brahman. Yeah?
Yeah. So here is a question. My question to Swamini Ji, when Shiva and Shakti merge together and it sits at the crown chakra, we acquire enlightenment. Yes or no? I mean, it's like a, I think it doesn't read like a question, it's like more like a statement. But
yeah. So your question comes from this merging of Shiva Shakti, it comes from the darshana of Tantra and Yoga. And it is possible to have an experiential understanding of oneness. It is the same understanding that we get in deep sleep, and it's the same, you know, the merging of the subject and the object that you have in a moment of happiness. Okay, so here it's not enlightenment as such, it is a glimpse of an experiential oneness that we get. But here we have to understand that every experience has a beginning and an end. You can't be enlightened for like 2 minutes when there was samadhi and then you are otherwise. For 2 minutes you were wise and for 2 minutes you are otherwise. It doesn't work that way. Yeah.
okay, here's a question. What does Swami Dayanandaji mean when he says I am wanting? The physical body, mind, sense complex is I am a wanting person. What does that mean?
Yeah. Yeah, see, at any age and stage of life, there are specific wants to that. So let's say, you know, you're a teenager, then you want acceptance from your peers, you want to do well perhaps in your studies. If you have Indian parents, then definitely, you know, you have to study. And then, you know, in your 20s and 30s, you're wanting a job, a partner, and then you want to settle down, which is an Indian term, and so on and so forth. And then when you're 80 or everyone wants to avoid getting the coronavirus and so on. So the specific want in every age and stage of life differs. But what is constant is that I want. And that is what Puja Swamiji means, and he actually illustrates it with a very beautiful metaphor. It's like the Shruti of a Tanpura. You know, it's like that constant music that is there, that I want is I'm either wanting happiness, I want to avoid sorrow, and so on and so forth. The specifics change, but I want is the basic human condition. Okay?
Yeah. Yeah. And even when we are very old, we want to die without being a burden to others, and so on. We want to die quickly without being in a condition of helplessness for a long time and dependent on others. And so this wanting never really goes away. It's a very powerful, common reality. All right, how do you? Grace of God, grace of Guru or God, is that a prerequisite for jnana?
Well, we talk about Atma Kripa, Ishvara Kripa and Guru Kripa. The grace of all three are required. What I find these days is the grace of God is very much there, but Atma Kripa, me blessing myself enough, is not there. To want to pursue this very sacred pursuit, which will free everyone really. Yeah. So all these are important, absolutely.
Okay, there's a question. How do you explain this knowledge of Vedanta to children here in USA who say they have a right to do whatever they want?
See, Vedanta is for adults. Okay, what we need to teach our children is the understanding of dharma, that where there is a right, there is a responsibility. If they have a right to do whatever they want, then they also have a responsibility to bear the consequences. So it is their right to receive an education when the parent fulfills the responsibility. It is the responsibility of the child to keep the room clean, because the child has the right to have a room to himself or herself. So we want to be able to teach dharma to our children. And just by the way, we have a channel called Shine, Spiritual Heritage of India for Kids. We have some videos there we create really to explain these very important things to children. So you can check it out on YouTube. Yeah.
Okay, next question. Has there been any study on how Hindu beliefs have evolved and changed in Indian descendants who emigrated to the Caribbean through the internship program? Are the practices and beliefs very different? I am in Trinidad and Tobago. Now, let me answer the question. Whoever that is, we welcome you to join Hindu University of America and engage in a research project. I think such kinds of research is very important to do, and we would want people to step up and engage in these kinds of research questions. Okay. Next question. How is it possible to neutralize bad karma and shift your mood towards good karma during one's lifetime?
Yeah, so like today itself, okay? If you do something that helps either yourself or someone in your situation, irrespective of your mood, you have done good karma. So forget about your lifetime. Do something that you were avoiding doing today, maybe your laundry, and you will feel good immediately, because you did what needed to be done.
Yeah. And in this time of coronavirus and its impact on people's lives, I know personally several people whose lives have been shattered, literally, by the loss of not just one family member, but multiple family members. And I think there's a lot that we can do to support and help and rehabilitate such families. So good karma. So, I mean, there's no limit. One thing is limitless in this contemporary world. There's no limit to creating opportunities for good karma in our current lives. Alright, I'm just going to make a shout out to the people to fill out the poll. Just respond to the poll. If you're interested, maybe you have questions to the 4 graduate level courses. Remember, they're all graduate level courses. I mean, they are much more intense than normal courses and require in-depth study and writing more than anything else. Okay, next question. How does one know that one has reached Jeevanmukti?
Well, you don't have the question anymore.
Very good. All right. Okay. isn't human body the biggest limiting factor to free will? We are limited by our body and its abilities.
The human body and mind, although it seems limiting, it's a glorious blessing. And we learn to push our body and mind to see what it can do, and that itself is a lot. Because it is only the achiever who pushes the body and mind, only after that the seeker can be born. Otherwise, I will sit in my little room, do nothing, and then expect that things will happen magically for me. It doesn't work that way. Okay, so we don't argue for our limitation. We break through our limitation with this blessing that we have been given, and we see what is the limitless in and through all the limitation.
Next question. How do I know I'm acting to my fullest dharma?
See, when we talk about dharma, it's a very deep topic, but how are your relations with devatas? Your relations with people around you? Your relations with your ancestors, pitras? Do you perform karma for them? Your relation with the environment? Are you giving and doing whatever is required? Your relationship with the gurus and the Vedic culture. You know what I'm talking about is Pancha Mahayajna. Our relations with all these five, the devatas, the rishis, the ancestors, the people around me, and the environment. And if I am able to live a life of contribution to all these factors, then I would say that one is living one's full dharma. Otherwise, it's incomplete.
Why can't that which is changing be the ultimate reality? What is the need for something to be unchanging or eternal? Why can't change itself be the ultimate reality?
Yeah, it's a good question to ponder over. Okay, but the thing is that we don't like change. We just look at ourselves and we don't want change. We all struggle with change. We want things to be happily ever after. We want our relationship to be as wonderful as it always was. So when you look, you just have to do some self-reflection. You see that we struggle with change. And change cannot be the ultimate reality because it is changing. So it is, any definition of any object is that which always is. That's for us reality. So if that which is always changing, meaning that it doesn't have an eternal reality, that's what it is. So change is not the ultimate reality, but in and through change, there is the ultimate reality.
So regarding Ichha Shakti, is it correct to interpret Bhagavan's teaching on desire or desirelessness in the Gita to mean, is it incorrect to interpret his teaching to mean to stifle desire, or rather to understand the reasons for desire, such as the deep-seated sense of incompleteness? That's the question.
Yeah, in the same Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavan Krishna says, I am that desire that is not opposed to dharma. Okay? So which means that all the desires in your heart are Shakti and you must act on it. Only thing is, the only condition which will be conducive for you is just align it with dharma. So we want, a lot of our emotional maturity takes place when we fulfill our desires in line with dharma. Earlier we fulfilled desires for the sake of fullness, and then with sufficient exposure you fulfill desires out of the fullness that you are. So you do actions out of the fullness that you are, no more the desire for the sake of fullness. So all the wise people definitely would want this pandemic to end. That's a good desire to have for the sake of humanity. But it comes out of an expression of fullness. And even if it doesn't, that's fine. Okay, we are too judgmental when it comes to judging ourselves on the basis of desire, and we have to drop this hang up that we have.
Okay, next question, probably the last question. Okay, probably. We'll see.
Kalyan is getting a bit tired now.
No. I mean, no. Swamini, we want to end.
Yeah, of course.
1.5 hours.
Absolutely.
So here's a question. Says Swamini, you said that one needs to learn to accept what one cannot change. But how does one know what he or she cannot change, or when we should take action to change and when not to take action to change? So that's an interesting one.
Yeah, it is easier if there is an example, so then one can get into specifics. So you make the effort to change the situation. I mean, and despite your best efforts, when things are not changing, then it is time to see, well, this is how things are. And through all of it, there is a sense of acceptance. Because first you have to accept that this is a situation that requires changing. You have to see it for what it is, only then. So acceptance is a prerequisite for any change. And then as the laws of karma are being invoked for you to change whatever the situation is, you keep making the effort, but there is death at the end of it. Okay, so let's say you're dealing with someone who had the coronavirus, and so you make all the effort, but whatever happens, you accept. So when in doubt, do. But at the same time, recognize that we have a lot of resistance to seeing the laws. That sometimes we resist so much, and this situation comes more when we are trying to change others. Okay, so here the more you accept a person, the more the person flowers and blooms. So unless I know the specific example, it's difficult for me to answer this question. Okay.
Yeah, I will say one thing about that. In any given circumstance, right? What can be changed and what cannot be changed is a very dynamic, unique and particular thing. For example, Mahatma Gandhi said, I can accept ruling India. I can accept it. But British were ruling India. What's the point of being upset about it? Right? They were ruling India. So one could have come to the conclusion saying, well, I'll just accept things as they are because I don't have the power to change it. But he said, well, I'm going to change it. I'm going to change their mind about it. So, the boundary of what you think you can change, what you cannot change, is a very dynamic thing. It's relative to the particular unique interaction between you and I and all of us and the current set of circumstances that we are dealing with. And so Swamini is absolutely right in saying you cannot answer it in general. It requires a specific example to probably elucidate it much, much better. And it's not the same answer for everybody either. So, one person is better off trying to change the situation, another person is better off in the same situation, maybe accepting it. So it is this extremely situational and dynamic nature of dharma that is unique to Hinduism. And for a simple mind that wants everything reduced to 10 commandments, it's hard to understand the multi-layered complexity of this dharma. And that's one of our challenges in representing Hinduism to the world. All right, so that is it for everybody. This is a webinar. Swamini, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Today.
And people can contact me or learn more about the work and the courses if you go to the website discoveratma.com. So I look forward to connecting with everyone. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Kalyan. Thank you very much. Namaste.